Vic Bozzo. I run sales for Nextone. Nextone is now Next Point Networks. A big part of what we do is session management and policy management. So when you're talking about peering networks together, particularly peering into a fabric, policy management and controlling the edge of that of your interconnect becomes really important. When you put that together with multiple types of sessions that you're going to see moving forward, right? I mean, let's talk about the fact that for the most part, we've been talking about VoIP and voice in this marketplace when we talk about peering, right? And we're here today at the voice peering fabric. But what we're seeing in the marketplace is that peering is not just voice anymore, right? So there's multiple types of sessions coming from multiple types of devices, and particularly what we see in our large enterprise customers is that a soft phone, a mobile phone running an application, a call center, a contact center, potentially a supplier or a customer may be in the same infrastructure. And that typically takes the form of multiple different devices. So what session border controllers and our primary business do is they secure those interconnections. And as they secure them, they also normalize the fact that they could be different protocols, they could be different types of vendors, they could be different types of devices. So moving forward, what's interesting and exciting about adding mobility into our portfolio is that the extension of the voice peering fabric or the peering fabric is that you're not looking at just peering with with voice type of applications anymore. So as we see it today, there are kind of a number of things that need to be accomplished when you peer. Certainly, you can point your IP address at the IP address of another island, and you can send traffic between those two islands. But as you do that, you need to keep in mind that you want to make sure that whatever's coming back is, number one, is authenticated. You want to make sure that it's secure. You also are now opening your in a way, we've had security by obscurity in the VoIP business, right? So I don't necessarily know your IP information. You don't necessarily know mine. We may be in the same exact business, and we may be, in fact, in the same co-location facility, right? As soon as I peer with you and I give you IP type information, then I am, in a way, opening my network up to things that could come back. So the idea behind session border control is essentially to create a barrier between your internal network and all of the things you want to do and your external network. And the other piece of it, which I think is important, is that when I say, let's say I say my network could today consists of multiple islands of disparate networks, right? When I peer to you, I don't necessarily want you to know that that network is not mine, right? So I want to be able to provide a single point of connectivity, right? It's a virtual piece of connection. I want to be able to do that securely, but I also want to be able to provide quality of service. And I don't just want to be able to provide quality of service from me to you. I want to be able to provide end-to-end quality of service. So this is really where the policy management and the session management piece of peering comes in, right? So you can take your soft switch, or you can take your mobile switch, whatever that is. You can put a session border controller in front of that, right? And you can connect that to another island that potentially has the same back-to-back type configuration. But when you want to go one-to-many, right, you want to have policy management and you want to have end-to-end quality of service visibility. So what we've focused on is really monitoring and peeling off pieces and probing the networks at each layer in the call. And when you do that, that creates essentially slices of time that provide packet loss and jitter and buffering and quality of service, MOS scoring, things like that. And then what we do is we reconstruct that into one end-to-end view, right? And you can call it a call detail record, but I think moving forward in the IP world, it's really going to become a session detail record, not to be confused with the PTT SDR. It's a record that shows more than just the transaction that took place. It shows what was going on from a quality service perspective, end to end in that call. And so the idea is, if you can monitor that and you can take that as the session is traversing, whether that's a voice, video, data, as I showed before, Skype, whatever that session might be, you can take that and you can deliver that into a readable, visible format that can be seen through a web services application that, basically plugs into the back office stuff that you have already. Then you have a pretty powerful way of managing your business, number one. And number two, a way to begin to peer with more than one island, right? So moving forward, if you're peering today with, let's say you're peering today with a peering fabric, right? There's a chance that that doesn't suit all of the needs or complete all of the transactions that you wanted to complete. So when you move forward from there, you need to then be able to do that to multiple islands. And so the idea is that you want to be able to maintain quality of service. I want to be able to see end-to-end quality of service from when the call started to when the call ended, even if I traversed multiple peering partners. So this is kind of how we build the block of technology up, as we say, so the border control is doing the heavy lifting, the media signal, the media protocol, the transcoding, whatever it is that makes these calls actually, makes you be able to hear me from the other side, right? But on top of that, you need to take that information and you need to have a layer that does essentially session switching. So similar to what you might have done in the PSTN network on a pure core, route hunt, you want to be able to do that with peering partners. And you want to be able to do that while you hold the A leg of that call, right? Because you certainly don't want to have to go transmit and retransmit and keep transmitting, because that's just going to keep adding up to the post-dial delay of those sessions. So you want to be able to do this at a signaling layer only, before the media ever leaves the house, right? So you could envision in the future a future application. I'm just going to skip through some of this here and see if I can get to. You could envision a future application where I pick up my wireless phone. My wireless phone is connected through a femtocell in my house or a picocell in my enterprise, right? Where I'm now on the LAN, right? I'm on the wireless LAN, getting the type of quality of service that you get from having that type of connectivity, and I'm going into a core switching environment, soft switching environment, let's say. From there, I'm going to a session border controller and a session manager that's saying, I know this call is destined for this fixed, IP phone that sits on the other side of the world, right? But I know the best route for me to get there is through this peering fabric, right? So I'm going to signal all the way through that cloud before I ever send the media. Because if I get to the other side of that call and it's not the best route, I want to be able to move that call in a different direction before I've actually have all these packets going around the network. So I think, I know I've got to conclude. So I think to conclude, what's important when you think about peering is you think about more than just the connectivity between your network and the other network. You think about how you're going to manage the policy, how you're going to provide quality, end-to-end quality of service, how you're going to protect the perimeter of your network, and how you're also going to topology hide the rest of the network so that you don't have to build every piece of or element of that yourself.